Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. I'm your host, Rob, and today I have with me, sitting around to chat, Daryl Bowman. Everybody knows Daryl from Bad Wine Reviews and the new app, Court. I think before we introduce the other two, we'll let you talk a little bit about that app and kind of what it does and who can get involved with it.
Sure. Well, if you have a phone, if you have an Android or an iPhone, you can download it on your respective store. So it's a repository for wine and spirit reviews. It also has like an inventory system for your own collection, and then it also has an inventory system for store picks, for those that are familiar with like bourbon picks. And then it's an ever-changing process. So I'm going to take the rest of the year off from further developments, and then we'll start back up again next year with some of the feedback that people have given, both critical and constructive.
There you go. And it's cool because it kind of came from your group. You started a group, Bad Wine Reviews, fun group. So give everybody a little bit of background on that. I mean, we want people to continue to join the group, so tell them about it.
It's
putting you on the spot here, Ella?
No. It's no. Bad Wine Reviews is the antithesis of what I believe your group is. You know, your group is this wholesome place of purity and.
Heaven and hell? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, people go there. It's like, hey, look at this nice food I made, and everybody's like, that looks really nice. Like, what's the recipe? And then people come to my come to my group, and they're like, well, I just got done doing a keg stand with Satan, and Jesus was there too, but he was real mad. But yeah, it's a fun group. Everything but memes, everything goes. And don't flip that OESO. So outside of that, but yeah, it's just we try to be fun and do a bunch of nonsense and all that. So
cool. And then we have two Matts joining us today.
Yes, you do.
You guys, first time on my podcast. Have you been on a podcast before?
I have not. No, first time for me.
Not whiskey podcast.
Not whiskey, but a podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, cool. Well, glad to have you guys, and I mean, tell people just a little bit about who you are and your world and either food, wine, whiskey, all of it, none of it, what you like. And
I'm just a normal guy who likes good food, good wine, and good whiskey.
So how are we going to differentiate you two? They're Matts. Are we going to?
You can call me by my last name. A lot of people do that because I guess in the 80s, Matt was a pretty common first name.
So, Carter can
Carter's
sometimes
fine,
be. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't consider myself any kind of expert of anything, but
enjoy them all.
But I enjoy all of it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And today we're just going to chat a little bit, just have a little conversation about. I think we'll touch on probably several different topics, but I think we should start first with something we've started doing, which is pretty fun. Got a little group together, kind of get these dinners going, little bottle shares and things like that. So I've enjoyed them. I think it's a way to kind of meet new people and share cool things as far as food, and then everybody always brings good bottles of whiskey, and then Dave Scott brings really good bottles of wine, so we appreciate that.
But average wine for sure.
Average.
yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity to get people together who normally wouldn't get together for if I might not have met Daryl or you or Carter. If it weren't for these get-togethers and these groups. So I think getting on and being able to experience new things like wine. I know Taylor and I are not, big into wine, and we're just now starting to experience new things with that. And so jumping into that world as opposed to where, I came from kind of initially Scotch and then bourbon and, kind of making that move. It's been fun, exciting, and it's always good to get together and try new food too.
Yeah, I think it's great just because, getting in these groups, for me, it was to find people who have a similar interest, whether it's food, wine, or whiskey, all those things. I think they kind of go hand in hand. But then taking it to that next step of being able to, like you said, get together and hang out and meet people, and just, for me, that's really what it's about. It's about the people and being able to share that together. So I absolutely love that you guys, when I say you guys, you three and the other young guys, let us old people hang out with you guys a little bit. So
yeah, I actually came from like the beer world mostly.
Did you?
Yeah, so I've been brewing beer for 8-10 years, something like that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I can honestly say that we all have our complaints with whiskey groups and things like that, but I can definitely tell you there's some advantages over the beer groups for sure. That to me just seems to be a little bit more hate going on. I don't know that I necessarily have like dinner parties and things like that with beer nerds so much. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and of course I've met some great people through it. So
Yeah. So anything else? I mean,
For me, it's broken up COVID. You know, like it's been a nice opportunity
point.
to get together with people. You know, you're not going out to restaurants as much. And the other thing is like it's kind of cool to like try a new. You know, that was like when I did it in my house. That was the first time I've ever made a lamb leg. You know, and that was like really cool, something to try. But I think everybody's been doing a really good job of making new foods, and I don't know. I've enjoyed that part for sure.
That's one of the big parts about it I like as well. I mean, it's easy to get together and just have a pour. And what I like about it is, you know, I love wine. So, you know, tying wine into it to me just makes sense. But I also think that it gets our ladies, our wives, our girlfriends, whoever, involved as well. Because I think, you know, if you're other than Taylor, most ladies don't just drink bourbon. They like either, you know, a type of cocktail or wine more often. So I think it's a way to get them involved, and they get to hang out with us because I love hanging out with my wife and having the ladies there. So I think it's
You're only saying that because she's sitting there.
I know. Yeah. But I you know, I used to before we started doing these groups, I remember having guys that would always message me and say, hey, you want to go have a pour? You guys, you know, 3 or 4 guys, you want to meet up and have a pour? And yeah, it's cool, but I like to, you know, my wife wants to be involved too. I like having her there and, you know, all of us being able to hang out and enjoy the night, not kind of cutting them out. So that's a big part of it that I like.
I'm with you actually. It's great to have like Yana kind of my wife brought into this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, she judges me harshly generally, but you know,
Rightfully so,
For
or
the
not?
most part, it's been fantastic. Yeah.
And let's be clear, it's not family oriented.
No,
So, like, you know, like couples and stuff is, yeah, wouldn't bring your kids.
no. Things get out of hand. Is that what you're saying? Or can? Or have?
I've heard that they have. I
heard
I haven't been to one.
The next day you heard.
Yes. I've not mentally been to one yet, where it's gotten out of hand.
Or you left early.
Left early, spiritually.
Yeah, physically. Yeah.
Physically was there. Yeah.
But no, I enjoy those things. And the other thing, you know, talking about the food is always fun to you know, have the food. And it's been cool, like Daryl said, you know, the leg of lamb. And I know Matt or Carter, you said that you and Yana were talking about next one might be kind of a fun night with some Russian food.
Yeah, definitely. Get people exposed to you know, I wouldn't say a fairly unknown cuisine worldwide, but to most people here in the United States. So.
Yeah, I agree. And Matt, your specialty is your heritage.
Yes, yeah. So I'll make a lot of different Greek food when we get together. So honestly, I was going to say that one of the big things about us all getting together and different people cooking and having dinners at each other's places kind of opened up the normal weeks too, right? So during the week, before a couple months ago and before that, you know, I wouldn't get in the kitchen and say, hey, let me, you know, whip together a Greek dish. But now I've been excited and more wanting to get in and just kind of
A little practice.
Hey, you know, we all need it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
just get in and do those meals during the week too, and you know, you start to get proud of what you're making, and everything tastes good, and you want to share that with other people.
Yeah, I can't wait to try some of the food. I saw you post that pic a couple weeks ago, and it was spanakopita.
Yeah, so it was the cheese only version of that,
Okay.
tiropita. So it's very similar, phyllo dough on the bottom, this cheese mixture in the middle, and then phyllo dough on top. And then we did some meat-filled domades, so great stuffed grapevines. So very pleased.
Looked fantastic, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to put that together for everybody.
The one thing I will say about like the bourbon community is I think they're way more well-rounded about food, and like they're much more experimental, you know, like especially like all the guys, a lot of guys who are into bourbon also have like smokers.
Yeah.
And they do some really cool stuff, and they're, you know, really into steak and trying different methods with steak. And Jordan Hills, he was, I think, his uncle or something, but he's the one that he only sous vides his brisket, and then he's the one that throws it on the egg for like 3 hours.
He sous vide.
He sous
A
vides
whole
for
brisket?
36
Wow,
hours.
That's amazing.
For 36 hours, and then puts it on the egg for 3 hours,
Just to get the smoke on.
just to get like a crust.
That's interesting.
I've
he said
heard
he'll-
good things.
He said he'll never do it another way again, but that's the kind of stuff that like I've learned a lot through these groups and these get-togethers about different methods of cooking things that I've been cooking for a long time.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice to learn something new, and when it hits, man, it's like, oh, okay, this is nice.
Yeah.
That brings up a good point, though. You're right. I've seen a lot of people in the bourbon world who I didn't realize would be foodies,
Oh yeah.
but are. When I think foodie people, typically you think wine with food more than you do bourbon and food. Which gets me to my question. I love to drink bourbon when I'm cooking, and then I usually switch to wine. And I've always tried to, not always, but I've been thinking and trying to figure out, can you pair whiskey with food? Should you pair whiskey with food? Does it go? Or am I doing it right by, having a whiskey while I cook and drinking my wine with my meal, and then whiskeys later on when we're done? Or how do you guys do it?
I don't know. I mean,
No wrong answer?
yeah, for me, say if I'm having like barbecue or something like that, maybe I'll pour a Texas whiskey, something with a little bit more smoke quality to it. If I'm having something a little bit more peppery, bitey, that kind of thing, maybe I'll have a barrel proof pour with it. There's just certain little
But
things.
you do pair whiskey with food then?
I try. I
Okay.
don't know that I'm an expert, but I give it a go.
Yeah, I just didn't know where to start, or do you start, or I don't know anything about that. I've just the last couple of years started drinking bourbon, so putting it with food. I haven't seen a whole lot of people posting a whiskey and saying, "Hey man, this is great with whatever."
I mean, shameless plug for a restaurant that my wife and I really enjoy, but like Federal Grill does a lot of dinner pairings with certain distilleries. And so like we went to an Old Forester event maybe about 6 weeks ago or something like that. It was fantastic. I mean, they had everything paired out with food, and it was great.
Does it work?
I think so.
Okay. Because when I think about wine, I think about the experience of the wine and food each should elevate each other a little bit. And I
Yeah.
wonder, does whiskey, when you have it with food, do you, if I drink it just neat, and then if I add some food, do I get a little different
I don't
experience
know
out of
about
it?
you guys, but I'd prefer eating and drinking whiskey or bourbon or scotch or whatever.
Cool.
I mean, I feel like it just goes hand in hand, and that's what most people do.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know enough. Like I can't tell you what to pair when it comes to like liquor.
Yeah.
But for me, I've always viewed like whiskey and bourbon, like you can't really go wrong necessarily. For me, it's like, and I do it more with like finger foods. So like, appetizers, or if you're just like
Okay.
hanging out, like
Snacking.
yeah, like that to me is like perfect for like the bourbon and whiskey world. But I'm like you. Once I get to like the meal, then I switch to wine.
And I think that's more for me because I consider myself a wine guy. I like wine, and I think it's just my natural progression to go to wine with food. I want to get more into whiskey. Taylor, I'm putting you on the spot. Do you like whiskey with food?
I guess it just depends what you're eating. I mean, kind of like Matt was saying earlier with the Metaxa, like we'll pour the brandy, like or something more sweet or more off the cuff than just a traditional
Bourbon.
straight bourbon.
Yeah.
While we're cooking or eating or doing things like that. But
And I think that a lot of it comes down to, it's personal preference, right? Same thing about asking people how they
Yeah.
like to drink their whiskey, right? It doesn't matter. It's however you like it. And so I think that there's a lot of times where if I'm starting to cook, we may have some type of, bourbon poured and I'm drinking it, and then we start kind of tasting the food as it's coming out. I'm like, wow, I like the way this is right now together. So I'm gonna keep drinking it through dinner. But
Makes
I
sense.
definitely don't have like if I'm making this type of food, I'm going to pair it with this type of whiskey or anything. But I think that it's kind of just a, case by case basis. As you're drinking, you're like, I like this. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to roll through dinner.
Yeah, and I
switching
asked
off.
just because I want to learn. Because, I like bourbon now. So trying to figure out, do I like bourbon with food? And I just don't know yet. I don't know enough about it to know. I guess to your point, you're exactly right. Just do it.
Yeah,
just try
that's-
it and see what you think.
I was going to say, I think you said
Yeah.
the same thing to me about wine. You said you just got to, try
Start,
different stuff.
yeah.
You just got to try stuff. And people say the same thing for whiskey and for pretty much anything, right? So.
Mhm.
But I thought you brought up a good point too, that you can kind of pick out a profile of a bourbon and know kind
Yeah.
of what kind of food, a spicy food or this kind of food that might just kind of naturally make sense with that kind
If
of
you've
bourbon.
got something, for me, like if you've got something spicy, pick a spicier, maybe a rye forward bourbon, to go
Yeah.
with it. I don't know. I think that there's some limitations when it comes to food. Like for me, like if it's a very nuanced like nose or palate or something like that, where food's just gonna kill what you're going for there,
Right.
then maybe not select that. But yeah, I mean, if you're like, okay, great example. I really enjoyed that rare breed rye that
Yes.
you brought to one of the parties. I think that would go great with like a steak, maybe even like Mexican food, something like that. It just packs a punch. Very nice. I don't know. I guess it's just all about experimentation.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I need to do more of it with whiskey. I guess it's hard for me because I'm just so used to wine that it's just hard for me to make myself drink bourbon with whiskey.
Try and true. You're used to
Yeah.
it. You love
Yeah.
doing that. So.
Yeah. All right, so whiskeys. There's so many opinions on bourbon, and I know it's a subject maybe we don't want to talk about, bourbon.
Depends on what you want to talk about.
Everybody has so many different opinions about, styles of bourbons or distilleries and how good and who's best and whatever. I mean, I like Buffalo Trace, but their product is so hard to get, and find and available. Do you guys have, are they one of your tops as far as distilleries, or do you have like a top 2 or 3? For me, I would say like Heaven Hill would be one I like a lot, and I know a lot of people that profile might not suit a lot of people, but Jim Beam is one that I really like, and Wild Turkey, and I always kind of look at it like quality, accessibility, and then, what you're going to pay in price as far as value. Those 3 to me are become 3 of my favorites just because I can always get things on the shelf that are there, and it just seems to be really, really good. Do you guys have some favorites?
I like Heaven Hill. I like Wild Turkey. I like Four Roses. Whitmeyer's, we've talked about this a little bit. There's the Whitmeyer's single malt. He needs to quit with bourbon and he needs to only make that single malt. Seriously. It is so good.
The one I had with you at Christopher Amera's house was fantastic.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's it's one of the best ones. So, but a lot of the Texas distilleries are putting out incredible, like Bocones, same thing. They're putting out incredible single malts. And honestly, if the Texas bourbon scene went away and they just focused on single malts, like, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Matt, do you have favorites, or you just kind of like everything?
I'm big. I love Wild Turkey. I think another one that, and I'm sure everyone kind of agrees with this, but Old Forester. Old Forester.
That's a good one.
Single barrel picks.
And that's Brown Foreman.
Yeah, exactly. Brown Foreman. So a lot of those picks, you can't go wrong for that price point, that $40 to $50 price point. And just even their 1910, 1920.
Those are the 2 that jump to me always.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've had those, and then the picks that you guys have shared, which have been fantastic. I think they were both from a group here in town. What else do they? I've seen some of. I think there's 4 in that line of 1910, 1920 in there, like an 1870 and something else. Have you had those, or those?
7,
Something like that.
I've had and they're all of them in that Whiskey Row series seem pretty solid, for available bourbon that you can find right on the shelf. Kind of echoing Matt, I think Brown Foreman's I love their flavor profile, generally speaking. Like some of the and whatever, we'll have that debate about whether Jack Daniel's stuff is
It's a bourbon
or not, but
it's a bourbon.
but whatever. We're not gonna say we're gonna say whiskey, right? But like some of the Jack Daniel's barrel proof picks, fantastic.
Right.
I love 1910. I love 1920. I also think that I guess it recently there's some availability issues, but 1792 bottled and bond is one of my absolute go-to whiskeys.
Okay.
It's available, generally speaking, and it's good. And then some of the picks have been just absolutely fantastic.
And their foolproof picks are generally
Very good.
I haven't had a bad foolproof pick yet, I don't think.
I'd also say I know it's a lot of people around town probably know, but Old Forester rye, just right off the shelf, easy to
$22.
get, $20-ish dollars. That's my go-to when it comes to cocktail rye, and it just makes a fantastic cocktail.
You mentioned one, Daryl, that I like a lot, but I haven't explored a whole lot, which is Four Roses. And I think it was because when I first tried them, we were on a trip to Vegas, and at the hotel, I just ran down to a liquor store, and somebody told me about Four Roses, so I bought like a $27 bottle. I think it was the yellow label, and it was just awful. And for a period of time, I was like, I don't want shit to do with Four Roses. They suck, you know. And
Yeah, the yellow label's not. I mean, so it actually is good in a cocktail.
Is it?
Surprisingly, yeah, it is. But yeah, on its own, it's not ideal.
So I got into the single barrels through a lot of you guys and picks and things, which are fantastic, trying those different recipes. I didn't know for the longest time that the single barrel on the shelf was only one recipe. I was always, for a while, trying to go, okay, which recipe is it? Didn't know it's always OBSV until somebody educated me on that. The only way you get the other recipes is by having a pick from a store or a group or whatever it is. But other than that, small batch select, small batch, what else do they have that you can...
I think the small batch select is pretty solid.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The single barrel is always just an easy
Is the
grab.
regular small batch pretty decent?
I like the regular small
I would
batch.
say so.
I do too.
Okay.
I think small. I mean, I know this is kind of weird, but small batch and small batch select. I think that bottle is the coolest bottle. Like it's just a really cool looking bottle on the shelf. But yeah, I like it.
We got to taste a small batch at the barrel, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we got to try?
Yes.
So they were dumping it
Oh, really?
to go to the tank.
Yeah.
So we got to try it straight out of the barrel, and it was pretty solid.
That's pretty cool.
Had char in it, and
Wow, that was awesome.
And so the small batch select, so people know, that's the 10 recipes that they have. Brent will pick 6 of those, and that goes into that year's recipe. But each year, it can be a different, it's always 6 recipes out of the 10, but it can be a different 6 each year. Is that right? That's the way I understand it?
You might know more than me
Yeah.
on that.
honestly.
yeah, I didn't pay attention on that part.
So they must be on their second year now or third?
I think they're on their second
Second,
year.
Came out last year, right?
Yeah, second year.
Right.
Yeah, that's the way when I was researching, that's what I understood is that they take
So-
6 out of the 10. So every year it's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be the same, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I love all those Four Roses, pretty much the entire selection. I do think that at least that first year small batch select, I enjoyed it. But if you look at the quality to price, you know, that kind
Well,
of.
and that was that's why I haven't bought one.
I like the small batch. I mean, I really enjoy the small batch, especially as a regular drinker, and that's the kind of bottle that I pour for people who don't drink bourbon, who come over and they're brand new to bourbon. I'll pour them that. If they're feeling adventurous and I can tell that they enjoyed that, I'll pour them some rare breed.
Yeah.
Rare breed.
Step up the
bourbon.
proof a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, those are really good, just daily bottles.
So what's
to
the
pour.
price on the regular small batch? Because the select is like $55, $57,
I
something
think
like
the
that.
regular one's like 30,
30?
35,
Yeah, I think it's
30,
in that
35.
$30
Yeah.
range.
I mean, you can't go wrong at that price point.
Is it
That's-
worth buying a select? Is it worth it? I mean,
Yeah.
for me, I always went, well, I'll buy a single barrel for $41 or 40.
If
Why
you-
spend 15 more bucks or whatever?
If you get to the point where you are enjoying your bourbon and you like trying different things, absolutely. I mean, I
Okay.
think it's a great bottle. It's just a question of, you know, if you're looking for a Four Roses profile and you're looking between that and the small batch, would you rather take a small batch for 30 to 35 or that for, you know, more?
Okay. Is there any other distiller that stands out to you that makes stuff that you go maybe doesn't get enough run, that they do some good things?
I know people like to hate on Angel's Envy.
My first question is, and I don't know the answer, is do they distill their own or is that all sourced?
They're distilling now.
Okay.
Their thing is they finish in port casks,
Okay.
so they're not bourbon technically. So it's bourbon whiskey finished in port casks.
Okay. I've heard good things about their rye.
It's real sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, it is sweet.
Oh, it's
Good.
super super sweet.
Finished in rum cast. So it
Yeah.
kind of gets,
Yeah.
I hadn't bought a bottle just because it's $100.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an
it's-
investment.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just go try it at a bar,
Yeah.
and you'll get your fill. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're just really into that profile, like
Nah.
yeah,
That's why I haven't bought any.
I personally really like it.
the rye,
The rye because it's so different.
very different.
And it's kind of expensive to make a cocktail out of it, but man, you can make an awesome old fashioned out of that stuff.
So that's one thing. If we're gonna start talking about that, The better your ingredients are, the better your cocktail is going to be.
Is that true?
Yes,
With-
absolutely,
and
100%.
I say that with bourbon because my mind always says with bourbon, I don't need an expensive bourbon or rye to make an old fashioned.
You don't need to.
No.
But I think if I'm going to have a margarita, I want some good quality tequila to put in there. And I'm going, oh, wait, that doesn't really make my thinking doesn't make sense in the
I-
world of spirits.
I feel
Yeah.
like there's got to be a plateau though, where you get to a certain point where the between a
Law of
$60
diminishing
bottle and a
returns.
$100, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not going to make a difference in a cocktail, but I also haven't tested that theory. I mean, I enjoy. Matt mentioned the Old Forester Rye is perfect in whiskey cocktails. I've done Stag Junior and old fashions, which is actually amazing. Maple walnut type old fashioned. But other than that, I mean, I don't really jump into my collection to make cocktails out of.
Yeah, I mean, well, most
Yeah.
of us drink it for
Yeah,
the most part
of
neat
course.
anyway. So
Right.
Yeah.
And
I actually like nicer spirits and cocktails. I don't do it all the time, but I mean I've had a 2017 George C. Stagg old fashioned before.
have you really?
Yeah, I had it up at Whitmire's.
It's fantastic.
It's super good.
So it does make a difference.
Oh,
I mean,
it does. So you want to know, make one with some of that Foursquare rum.
Okay.
Make a rum cocktail with with an Emperor.
Versus just a Diplomatico or what is,
Yep.
what is that one?
Oh, yeah.
So O'Mara actually has some Tyler Martin and Doug Carroll. They have really good recipes for some rum cocktails. Get with them and use some Foursquare, and you're gonna be like, okay,
Yeah.
like
So before we jump more into cocktails, I want to ask some questions about that. Finishing up on distilleries. I know it's one of your favorites, but for you two guys, how much do you like or not like Whistle Pig?
gross.
I looked at Daryl when I said I know it's one of your favorites.
I guess like for me,
I hear people just say they love it, and I hear people dog on it, and
I've had a couple of picks that I actually enjoyed, but for the most part, I did not really like Whistle Pig in general. And I've even had the 18 before.
Really?
And
now is it you don't like their juice, or is it that we get back to that, what you're getting for the price you're paying, and you just go, it's way overpriced? Because I think about that with like Kentucky Owl. I don't mind their 10-year rye. I like it, but not at $200.
yeah, I mean, that might be a different subject
Okay.
for me. But as far as like Canadian whiskey or Canadian rye and that kind of thing, it's just not. I haven't found one where it's worth paying $80 to $100 for.
Okay, so you're referencing that they source their whiskey from Canada,
I believe that's correct.
but they started recently make distilling, right?
I think so. I don't know if is it exclusively Canadian.
It may not be.
I don't
really
know
sure.
enough,
I
but
don't either, but I know that they do some from Canada
Yeah.
for sure.
so for me, like what I do, I try something and then whether I like it or not, just strictly on the juice. And so for me, I have not found a lot of Whistle Pig that I enjoy.
Okay.
I just 9 times out of 10, I just don't enjoy it. Then after that, it's like, okay, well then I'll do like a price evaluation.
Okay.
And so, but for me, I don't care for it, and I'm not even gonna get to that point because I'm not gonna. If I don't like it to begin with, then I'm not even gonna worry
Yeah.
about price evaluation.
No, I'm with you. You have an opinion, Matt?
I personally enjoy Whistle Pig.
Okay.
When you look at that, quality to price ratio, I don't know if it's quite there, but I will say the Old World Cask finished bottle, I really, really enjoy. I've had that in just a standard bottle, and then also a pick of that, I believe.
Oh, a pick of that.
Yeah, and then one of their 10-year picks as well that I was big fan of. But then after that, I really enjoyed the taste and the profile. But then after that, you look at it, okay, is it worth the price? I don't know. I mean,
So when we start talking about price and quality and kind of where that line is, what's your all's feelings on MGP? Does it matter to you? To me, I don't care.
problem.
If it tastes
No
good, it
problem.
tastes good.
I don't care where it comes from.
Okay,
if
I don't
it's,
either.
if it's good whiskey, it's good whiskey.
I see a lot of time people on the bourbon site going, "Yeah, it's sourced, it's MGP,"
Just because there's a lot
Okay.
of it. It's
Yeah.
just it's you.
but
can,
they do some good stuff.
You can get it. It's
Absolutely.
easier to get. I mean, it's they're making a ton of it, so that's what's available for a lot of these new producers.
Okay.
And so It's just all, and them and Dickel. I mean, that's probably what you're going to get most times. So, but as long as it's good, who cares? I don't care where it comes from.
And that's probably, and I don't know the answer, but I don't know if you know, like what percentage of the whiskey that's out there is from probably those two source distillers.
I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's substantial.
Yeah, I don't know this for a fact, but I think the MGP is having some issues, supplying juice to new.
The demand is so high?
Yeah, I mean the demand has gone up so high that they're having a hard time selling to new potential companies coming out.
Is it standard that when you source juice, do most of these guys age it at their place, or is it aged by MGP, or do you know? I don't know.
It's a mix, I think.
It's a mix?
Yeah, so they keep some stuff back. Because, I mean, that you see it all the time. Like, we just got in, 11-year MGP or 10-year MGP. So I think they do a bit of both. So, like, the ones that Travis ordered, they were mixed between, like, 2 and 4 year.
Okay.
So it just depends.
So I'm guessing I'm getting off topic here, but that's coming to Texas. When we say Travis, that's coming
Yeah,
to
Whitmires,
Texas.
yeah.
So he's probably not going to age that too much more here.
No, I think he only ended up doing a 3. He had it a few weeks, actually,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, maybe a month.
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Okay, I wouldn't think so.
I think we did that pick last summer or something.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
it hit pretty quick.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, there's some value in a 4-year MGP rye. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them taste really good.
It's going to sell.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked about the do they age it and stuff, how much does that play a part in what the end product is? Because it comes from MGP, but if they age it in different barrels or for a certain amount of time, it's still going to change a little bit of the characteristics of that juice.
It typically arrives in the barrels it's going to be in. So it comes in barrels, and just depending on the distillery, they may or may not hold it back.
Okay.
So some people will buy and with plans to release it in 5 years. So if they get a 4-year, then they release it at 9 years or 10 years. But some people go straight to market with it. So.
And I asked that question because in my mind, I'm thinking, if they source a ton of whiskey, you could have, say, 3 people get from the same batch, put different labels on it, but it shouldn't taste exactly the same. I mean, different barrels anyway but is it going to be close?
Well, I guess it depends on if they're aging it for longer, right?
That's what I mean. That's
yeah,
why I wonder
they're
if
aging
you
at
have to
different
do that
geographical
just to kind of
locations.
make it
Yeah.
unique to your label.
Right.
I mean, if those barrels were sitting over at Whitmires and in Texas in the summer,
Right.
open air for a long period of time, yeah, it would definitely be different, for
Yeah.
sure.
Just- my thought was just, trying to differentiate yourself. If you're sourcing from the same place that other people are sourcing from, you want to make it unique to your brand is what I'm...
I think they've got a whole, I don't know this for a fact. Daryl probably knows better than I do, but I know MGP's got a ton of recipes.
Do they
different
really?
recipes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, I mean, you could, pick a specific recipe that probably a lot of people don't have, or maybe just very few people have.
And it's all going to sell. I mean, that's just the thing. It's more of a sourcing supply issue than a demand issue. So, I mean, everything gets sold.
Yeah, and I get that. It's just for guys like us in the bourbon community who drink bourbon because they really like it and really kind of dissect what they're drinking, getting stuff that you know is going to be good versus, like, I had some friends over last night and they were like, hey man, we want to mix with Coke. And I'm like, all right, here's $1.08. And they, a full bottle, and Sandra, they killed it. It was gone. I don't care.
That's
You know?
probably for the
French man
best.
certified.
It's actually kind of nice to get rid of
Yeah,
those
it
type
made-
of bottles.
It made
Yeah.
room in my drawer so I can put
Yeah.
some more stuff in there. So,
If you like mixing, here's the one from the bottom of the cabinet.
Yeah.
so I don't know. I just had that opinion trying to figure out when you get sourced whiskey, how you make it your own. So it's
Yeah.
Also, I'm interested, I know we were talking about the smoke wagon. I'm interested in trying that and seeing, kind of.
So that's from MGP.
It is, isn't it? I believe
Mm-hmm.
so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Out
It
of
is.
MGP to Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I believe so.
Now, each climate's going to be different, and so something that I think we've talked about before. I would love to see someone in Texas do is, get like 50 barrels and put them in climate control and model them after a Kentucky climate.
So adjust the temperature up
Adjust,
and down
yeah,
based on
humidity.
season and
adjust the humidity, adjust temperature, over like 7 years, and just see what happens. I mean, it'd be expensive, but I think that'd be really cool to
Yeah.
see what they could do.
yeah, that's a really cool idea.
You just kind of wonder, like, as far as like the ROI goes, like,
Yeah.
your air conditioning.
Oh, you could slap any price on it, people would pay it. I think
Just because it's unique.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All you have
Market
to do
it
is
that
make
way.
it exclusive and done.
Put Daryl's face on it. And
Yeah, that sells really well.
That's a popular sticker.
It is. It sells well here.
I heard there's some good wine with your name on it or your face on it.
You have wine coming out with your face on it too?
No, not yet.
I was like, man,
It's
I
in
missed
the
that.
works.
Okay, cool.
In the works.
So what about those, I guess, unique, that some people think they're gimmicky methods of artificial aging, right? Or kind of trying to do rapid aging. So I've heard of like sound wave blasting. I've heard of all these different crazy
Oh, I hadn't
things.
heard of that.
Yeah.
I had one. I had the Glyph.
Okay.
Someone brought me that Glyph lab made whiskey, and I mean, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird. So I don't know. That's the only one I've had, but it wasn't
Yeah.
delightful.
I've done some of the stuff where, barrel aging. I've done some barrel aging cocktails, but also some barrel aging of just bourbon, or whiskey. And it is kind of unique. I mean, you've got so much more surface area contact with the liquid. I mean, it
Right.
ages much, much quicker.
Talking about like a small barrel?
Yeah.
Yeah, like home barrel.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe people.
So when you
experiment
do that at home, what size barrel? I mean, is it like a gallon?
I'm doing mine in a 5-liter barrel.
A 5 liter? Okay.
Yeah.
I've done the 1 liter and like 2 liter. And I mean, just have fun with it, right? Just to try something different. So put in Buffalo Trace in there and just let it age for a couple weeks and pull it out, and then put it next to a regular Buffalo Trace.
And it changes.
It changes a little bit.
Okay.
It's unique. It's different, and it's not necessarily.
Taylor shook her head. Yes, it changes.
I mean, it's one of those things where as soon as you get into drinking all these, and you have all kinds of different bourbons, and you want to try something different, you try that, right? And then you be like, okay, I've got something unique that's mine. Now I can just share with friends when they come over.
That's
See what
pretty
they
cool.
think.
Yeah, I like that idea. Where do you buy your barrel?
So there's a company that's out of Pearland called Deep South Barrels.
Local.
Yeah, they make the one that I have came from them, and I've actually purchased several of those barrels, and
Okay.
they seem to be pretty good quality.
Are they reasonably priced if somebody wants to do that?
It's kind of a gimmicky buy.
Is it really?
But so you got to kind of keep that in mind when you go
Okay.
spend $100 on
Okay.
small little barrel or something.
How many times can you use it?
Depends on what you want to do. So I've done Buffalo Trace just in a barrel first, like a new charred oak barrel, per se. And then after that, I put in a tawny port, or just a cheap port in there, and let it sit for a little while, emptied it out, then tried to put another bottle in. I mean, it's just kind of revolving, right? So you can try using it a couple times, do
And
different things.
I asked that question because I think about wine again, and I know the rule after 4 uses of a wine, you start to lose the characteristic of a barrel, becomes neutral. There is no more.
Right.
And so I didn't know if that happens with these.
Yeah.
It does. It does over time. Now, I'm not sure like the longevity of it completely, but I think you can use it for several years.
That's pretty cool, though.
And yeah, obviously from first fill to the time you are done with it. I mean, yes, you're going to lose something progressively over time.
But also because you're doing it for such a shorter amount of time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
maybe a month, you're going to get a lot more uses versus a wine barrel that's in there for 18 months or
Well,
something.
one of the cool things, like when I do with cocktails, is like I recently I made a couple years ago barrel aged Manhattan in my 5-liter barrel. Then I went to a rum cocktail that I aged in there for
Really?
maybe a year or so. And so like you're picking up different characteristics from the what you put in there previously. So it can make some kind of unique things. So.
That's pretty cool.
So what'd you do for that Manhattan? I mean, you just what kind of anything, like just cheap type,
Yeah.
Never
whiskey
cheap.
or
The
what?
quality matters.
quality, yeah, cost effective.
Yeah, I mean,
cost effective whiskey.
I think I probably just got the big things of Bullet Rye,
Yeah.
threw in there, and just economical or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Because if
this
it goes to
is
crap, you don't want to waste some good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the barrel is definitely more of a risk.
Yeah.
But then did you feel like you got something out of it?
I
Like,
thought it
you
was
think
really
very
good. You can experiment with like particularly like barrel aged cocktails. You can use some different bitters and some different maybe like you use a fancy vermouth or like whatever that you want to use.
Yeah.
Expensive.
So that kind of transitions into cocktails, Matt. You sound like you're a cocktail guy.
I like making them. I wouldn't say I'm gonna win some competition in Vegas, but
What did Yana say?
Yana said she likes drinking though.
Oh, she like then you're making them well.
Making them well.
Yeah, I mean, I like kind of more of the classic stuff, like your old fashions, your Manhattans, Sazerac, like New Orleans cocktail side, Vauqueries. I like to do like a Hemingway daiquiri. Different.
See, do you know cocktails? Me neither. I don't have a clue what's in. And tell me first. I know an old fashioned. I can make those. That's the only cocktail I know how to make. A Manhattan, is it just the difference is vermouth? What's the difference?
Yeah.
Generally speaking,
Okay.
you just you use the sweet vermouth.
Okay.
And all vermouths, though you can spend some money on vermouth, but
Chris Francis did that.
yeah. He
Actually, Carter did that.
yeah, he made me do that, I guess. But yeah, all vermouth doesn't taste exactly the same.
Okay.
So there are some different Italian style vermouths and that kind of.
Do you have a favorite for cocktails that people would hear?
I just use generally just the Martin and Rossi, like the Rosso stuff. Like, I mean, it's
Works
not
fine.
bad. It's $10. I mean, for that, it's not that important to me, at least. But I do get kind of crazy with the bitters. I like I've got the walnut bitters and the chocolate bitters and the orange bitters and the spiced cherry bitters and the Peychaud bitters.
And those aren't necessarily for specific cocktails. You play with those in maybe an old fashioned. You might put chocolate in an old fashioned.
Yeah, I do a chocolate walnut
Oh,
old
wow,
fashioned sometimes. Just with and really the chocolate and the walnut are only coming from the bitters. Really? Yeah. And maybe you might want you say like, okay, yeah, this bourbon's got a little bit more chocolatey taste to it, or whiskey. Maybe you'll add that to a cocktail and kind of craft around it or something.
So other than the two bourbon ones that I know, the Manhattan and the old fashioned, well, let's say this: what cocktails are some of your favorites that aren't made with bourbon?
I do like I like a gin fizz. I don't know if you had a classic gin fizz. So it uses like a egg white slow gin. It's a really famous New Orleans drink. You get like a nice frothy head to it.
Okay.
Got a nice taste and texture to it. A good whiskey sour is a heck of a drink when it's made well. And make sure you mix up those egg whites good, because I've had experience with people who don't mix them up well, and you get a egg white hanging from the
Yeah, that's not good.
that's not very
That's a different
appetizing.
podcast.
X-rated.
Yeah, but I mean, even like Yana likes my wife likes Cosmos, and she likes French martinis and different things like that.
And my wife has learned, because two drinks that she had at bars that she likes a lot, how to make a good chocolate martini. And then she makes a really good lemon drop. She likes a lot. Makes a good lemon drop martini.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of like a girly drink, but really, I mean,
I like
the thing is, they taste pretty darn good.
I like pomegranate martinis.
Do you really?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different things that you can do, and it's just another element of the whole spirit scheme.
But your cocktail world doesn't. I mean, you're a bourbon guy, so it doesn't stay right there. You like all different kind of cocktails.
No, I kind of like bourbon and whiskey based cocktails.
You do, okay. That's your lane.
Like I do a variation and rum based cocktails.
Okay.
Because kind of like what Daryl was saying earlier, like if you use some of the higher end rums, like the Foursquare, or maybe some of the Real McCoy, some of the plantation rums, Appleton rums, they have unique flavor characteristics to them, and you can make a lot of really good cocktails
Oh, okay.
with those rums. I mean, I really like a painkiller. It's a really good drink.
I've heard of that, not had it.
Yeah. So there's a great bar in town, Lalo, that makes fantastic, kind of quote unquote tiki drinks.
Okay.
So yeah, go give it a try and explore the cocktail world. There's another one called a corn and oil. It's kind of.
So
to
these
me,
are
it's-
new creations. These aren't things that have been around for a while.
Some of
or
these
they-
things have been around for a while.
Oh, they have?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're naming things I've never heard of.
Yeah, people kind of go back and I mean, me growing up, like when I first got into booze, I would buy cocktail books just to look at them, just kind of see
Yeah.
what people were, putting together, and I'm like, oh, I can impress the girls by making cool cocktails,
Yeah.
It
stuck.
It didn't really work, but
But the cocktails.
but I remember it,
I don't know. You have Yana. Not over a cocktail?
It's 401k.
Oh, okay.
that was definitely more appealing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cocktail world is fun. It's just
Yeah.
something to do, and you can get creative with it.
Yeah. Are you a cocktail guy?
I mean, I'm pretty much just a old fashioned and
Okay,
Manhattan
that's
kind
kinda
of
where
guy.
I'm at, yeah.
I mean, I mentioned earlier. I really like the maple walnut old fashioned, so that's kind of my go to almost. And it's got to be like a real high barrel proof type whiskey. So I really like putting Stag Junior in that, and that's just maple syrup, walnut bitters, black walnut bitters, and walnut stuff in it. But Taylor's more into the cocktails. She really likes martinis and also French 75s. So
What's
that's
that?
kind of Taylor. What's a French 75?
A French
I
75.
can't even tell you.
It's gin, simple syrup,
Champagne, I think.
and then you top it with champagne.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a lemon.
Probably
zest.
something else in there,
And
but-
there might be something else in there.
Yeah.
But by the second one, you don't care. So
Really?
It's so good.
You have a favorite cocktail?
No, I'm the same way. I'm lazy.
Yeah.
I'm super lazy. So
I am too, but
I'm
I will say that when we cook fajitas or something like that, something kind of that on a hot day, I don't like a traditional margarita, but we found a couple recipes I like spice, like we were talking about. So making a jalapeno margarita is something that we've come to like quite a bit.
So one place in Houston,
I'll flip
I
it
did
mine.
have a cucumber margarita,
Okay.
and that's the best margarita I've ever had in my life.
A cucumber
margarita, yeah. I've never been able to find cucumber tequila. They make it, but I've never been able to find it. But my buddy out in Midland, he said he found a bottle, so I'm gonna go visit him in a few weeks. I'm gonna bring it back, but that, without a doubt, the best I've ever had.
Sandra at Peli Peli, is it a cucumber martini that you like? Yeah, that's really
That's a great restaurant.
See, she did remember that one.
yeah.
Well, you could always do your own infusion too. I mean,
It's the whole lazy thing. I mentioned.
Gotcha.
You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's a loose cork.
Man.
Here, well, we can live try the smoke wagon.
Yeah.
Good.
This is
Yeah, not yet.
this is the Dollar General podcast.
I think they got that cork at the Dollar General.
Yeah, no kidding. Popping right out.
Okay, I know Daryl's kind of world of wine. Matt and Carter, you guys, you're getting into wine. You're into wine. You like wine. You don't like wine.
I guess I know what I like when I try it.
Okay.
But, and to say that I have
Fair.
some kind of sophisticated palate, absolutely not. I enjoy it though.
What'd you like about the bottles? Like the three main ones from the other night,
I really like.
and the Gewurz.
And
Oh, well.
and the crimes.
That Gewurz was fire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
and the crimes. Don't forget that one.
So I really
That was
liked.
I got PTSD. Please.
Yeah, like with the Gewürztraminer, I've actually had that one before because that one came from our house, and I really enjoy that wine. It's just fantastic for I don't know, a hot day.
Yeah.
Nice, easy drinking, crisp. Kind of a little. I don't know. To me, it has like a little pear quality to it.
Okay.
I
can see that.
It's nice. But I really liked the gemstone we had the other night.
Yeah, that's a good
that
one.
was
That was killer.
fantastic. It was like raspberry jam or something. It was fantastic. So I mean, yeah, I'm enjoying hanging around you guys because I'm getting a lot more exposure to really
And
good
you
wine.
like that. You want to kind of grow your wine, or you just like, I'll drink
Absolutely.
it because it's in front of me.
No,
You're
it's just
interested.
I like a lot of booze related hobbies.
Okay.
So, like, how much do you think that? Did we talk about the price of that bottle?
The Jim.
So how much did you think that bottle was?
I have no idea. What? $100?
Yeah, so it was 160.
Okay.
So like, to me, like it's very very good, but I think you can find. That you can find something.
Price, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's really, really good. And I really like that producer.
Where is it from? What region?
Napa.
That name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you can get something probably not similar Old World because they just don't tend to be that level of jammy.
Yeah.
But I think you can find a California that you'll enjoy very close to that. That's not $160.
I agree.
And,
Yeah, I mean, like one thing I'd like to know more is like, and maybe this is a different show. But
No, not at all.
You know, what are your go-tos? You know, in that 50 to whatever range. You know, like as something that you don't have to spend $200 to get to that level of quality. You know,
there's so many, and that's why I always harp on keep you a list of what you've drank. Mm-hmm. So then that way you can go and you can start seeing kind of a trend.
I think there's an app for that, maybe.
There is.
Maybe.
It's not I don't know.
it's a little glitchy.
It's called Vivino. but yeah, I mean, like, so I mean, I have the app, but I still have like an Excel sheet because it's a quick reference, and that gives me a good pattern of what I like and what I don't like, and price points, and I mean, because $50 to $100, I mean, there's just an infinite number of wines out there, and just depends on what you want.
To me, you can live in that $50 to $60 range and get some really good stuff.
Oh yeah, you can live
in Napa. I'm talking about in Napa, because
Yeah.
a lot of people think Napa people think you have to go to those 100, 110, 120, and I don't think you do. I think there's some really good stuff.
It depends on what you want to do with it too. Like if you just want to like vacuum in your underwear around the house, like there's some great like the
What's a
Sagazio.
good pairing with wine to go with vacuuming around the house?
Sagazio,
Okay.
Sagazio Zinfandel is a great boxer vacuuming wine.
20 some bucks,
22.
Yeah, something like that.
Bodega Norton Privada. It's out of Argentina. It's a $13 wine that gets it's his 93 rated wine. That's an unbelievable deal.
But you bring up a good point. That region in general, to me, whether it's Chile or Argentina, have some fantastic wines, and the value is
They're relatively inexpensive.
yeah. And buy them now because I don't know how long that'll last. I would hope it's a little while, but they make some really good stuff.
So I think that's the hard part of jumping into, and again, Taylor and I have kind of just jumped off the deep end trying to get into wine more. With whiskey and bourbon, I mean, you can go online and do 15 minutes of research and Brown-Forman, Buffalo Trace, and you've got a good starting point because they've got so many different, brands and Four Roses and some others, right? But with wine, and maybe it is this way, but what I haven't seen so far is that, okay, there's 6 or 7 different major controlling, I don't know, type companies that
Constellation.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, do they?
There's Gallo.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is kind of like that, but it's
a little bit. Not. I think for wine, you see more when we talk about like craft distillers.
Yeah.
You see more of the, family-owned wineries that really
Right.
put out good stuff versus, for me, craft distillers with whiskey. It takes some time to really kind of get there to a level where I think the wineries do a pretty good job. They've been around for a little while, and
I feel like it's harder to jump off or jump into it and figure it out on the wine side than it is
I agree
on,
with you.
on the bourbon side. Would you guys agree with that?
For
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
It's so like
it's a big world.
there's so many, and a lot of the wines are conglomerately owned that you wouldn't realize that they are. Like the Mondavi world, there's so many labels under their name that you don't even know that they own that. And there's a lot in California like that.
And now they're owned by one of the bigger ones. Constellation
Yeah.
got one of them owned. I can't remember which one it is.
And
But
now,
they got
are a
bought.
lot of those, did they start out as family wineries and then they got bought out? And then
yeah.
Are they still operating under their own?
Sometimes.
Wine tends to do that. They tend to let them still run things the way that they've been doing it. They're just under Like it might be for distribution purposes, it might be for advertising exposure.
I think they just have a presence in the market, and they want to, and that's why they bought them, because there's enough there to say it's justified to invest, buying this company.
So there's plenty of those names, I guess, where you may not like the parent, companies type wine.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you like a lot of the ones that were acquired by them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at
I
it.
think so.
No different than Carbach, right?
Right.
Like a lot of people hate Anheuser-Busch, but still Carbach puts out good stuff. And so
Yeah.
I was in some sushi restaurant in Mobile, and they had one of the Carbach beers in the fridge.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for Anheuser buying
I
them.
see Hopadillo
That's what it was.
everywhere.
It was Hopadillo.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, and that's kind of like a little bit to jab at the beer nerd side. I mean, if you think of all the big bourbon distilleries or whiskey distilleries, most of them are owned by big conglomerates.
Yeah, Four Roses owned by Kieran.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Beam Suntory, you got Brown-Forman, owns Jack Daniels. They own
That's a
Old
great
Forester,
point, yeah.
And like people aren't like bent out of shape when like, oh yeah, this huge company bought this distillery. But in the beer world, it's like, oh my gosh, we're never going to drink that beer again. They sold out.
They
you
sold
know?
out.
Why? It's not. It's just the fact that they sold out. Because I think sometimes people think, are we going to lose quality when you talk about bourbon, or are you going to change something?
No,
And-
we've talked about it. Beer people are terrible.
They're just terrible.
They're just that's one of the things that they're the worst about.
Hey, Carter's a beer guy.
I know.
Yeah, it's all right. I came from the beer world.
No, yeah. I mean, when Carbach sold, or when they got bought out, you would have thought that Carbach released all the kids that they were hiding in their basement. I mean, seriously, the reaction was just, it's like, if I'm a business owner, I would have sold out immediately, probably for less money.
Yeah.
I'll just take a bucket of chicken and some tater tots.
I mean, it's let's say you are a small brewery or whatever, and an InBev comes to you and says, "Yeah, we're going to give you $200 million for your brewery." What are you going to say as an individual?
And we may let you keep running it and have doing all these things that.
I think Carbach
and you can put it nationally.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Carbach there's only a few beers that InBev is making at other locations. Like most of the offerings of Carbach are made here.
They're still made here, and are they? You mentioned the one that you said, which one?
Hopadillo, yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
Are most of them staying here that they produce? Are they staying regionally wherever they were distributed?
Probably
They
getting
didn't grow?
distributed all over the place, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Because if they're only producing here, I'm thinking the volume, they don't have enough equipment to get it, out there as much as.
I mean, they're going to be more limited
Yeah.
in their area that they can
Yeah.
service, but yeah, I mean, I think Love Street and Hopadillo are two of the offerings that are national, that get brewed at locations other than in Houston. So
How cool is that? Like for the people that started it, a huge corporation bought them. Now they're bajillionaires, and they get to see their product all over the U.S.
Yeah, I think
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I admire that. I'd have sold out instantly.
I have no problem with it, but a lot of people do.
So they just get butt hurt, the beer people. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think they like it.
That's got to be it.
I think they like being angry.
Okay.
It's fun for them.
Quadruple IPA.
And it was Jordan Hill and Tyler who kind of made me aware of this community of beer people that are just so angry. I saw your poll when you did it, and I was like, wow, okay, why are people beating up on the beer people? Is it because they're not in the group? I had no idea that it was a real thing.
They're
beer
terrible.
people are.
There is a Houston craft beer.
Jordan and them told me about that too, and I had no idea because I talked about
Brutal.
I had mentioned, hey, maybe it'd be fun to do a craft beer show, and some of the craft, and they go, oh, you don't want to do that. You will be, people will be angry no matter what you do. People are going to be angry. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know it was that.
Oh yeah.
sensitive.
Oh yeah. I mean, you think bourbon's bad? No.
See?
Got nothing
Yeah.
on the beer guys.
Because I like beer. I mean, I grew up, I'm much older than you guys, 25 years ago. I wasn't into Budweiser and Miller Lite and all that. Back then, it was about, for me, it was Bennigan's. You could go in and try beers from around the world, and it was trying all these different types of beers from all over, and that was cool. Then I think it was maybe 20 years ago when craft beer started coming out. I remember one of the big ones I would see in Missouri, where I was from, was Shinerbach finally came. And I thought that was really cool. Now you see all these craft breweries, even here in Houston. I mean, there's got to be. Am I short in saying
Every
there's
neighborhood
60
has one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
There's
I mean,
60 of 'em.
it's really cool too if you think about it. I mean, there are cool places, generally speaking, and some of them can have really nice layouts. Hang out. A lot of them have food. You know,
food trucks if they don't have food.
In the case of like Buffalo or
Buffalo Bayou.
yeah, or St. Arnold's, they got great views of downtown. You know, like it's fun. It is.
See, and
fun.
I've never been to St. Arnold's, and I like craft
Oh, it's
beer.
awesome.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
their food's really good.
Yeah.
I've been to, Eighth Wonder and, Buffalo Bayou and Eureka and all the little ones like that. But I was like, St. Arnold's so big, but it's worth going and checking out.
Yeah, I really like it. I actually used to go there. I mean, I joke that like when I first moved to Houston in like 2004, I was just starting to really get into the beer scene, and I'd go to St. Arnold's and. That was like the first brewery experience that I ever had, because really there weren't that many craft breweries in I don't even know that there was any in the Houston area, and like in 2003-04.
Yeah.
But you'd go over there during the summertime. It was in a warehouse up in Mitchelldale in 290.
I remember that.
And just sweat the whole time you're there. They have like one restroom in there, but it was a fantastic time. I mean, and you really felt very welcoming in there. I think things have changed a little bit. Not for St. Arnold's necessarily, but I'm just saying just in the beer
general,
community.
yeah.
But anyway.
It's always a good time at the breweries. Like that, they're always like every brewery's welcoming. They try to make it fun. The breweries are great. It's all the
people?
homebrew guys. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
this.
Homebrew guys, Carter.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Daryl keeps calling you out. It's not me or
To be
Matt.
fair, the first time I met Carter was while they were home brewing.
Yeah,
and it was a
that's
great
true.
time. We had a
Yeah.
great time.
Do you
hanging out
still
with
make beer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
Matt's
that.
the exception.
Yeah.
There's always an exception.
He's
to
the
that.
exception.
I don't know that I'm necessarily accepted by the beer community, but I just like to have fun and brew beer.
Yeah.
So,
That's not accepted.
I was gonna say the same thing though, as Daryl. Like every time I've ever been to a brewery, Taylor and I, our friends, whatever, it's always an amazing time. You always get to try, different, unique stuff that they only have there. And you see, there's outdoors, indoors. People are bringing their dogs. There's games.
You
There's
set up
kids.
tables. Sometimes
Yeah.
they let you bring food.
Yeah,
You got
you-
cornhole going on.
Either you bring your food, or they've even got food trucks.
Yeah.
Or, maybe they serve their own food. But I mean, it's been great experience. So, and I actually haven't seen a lot. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, the craft beer groups and all that are kind of." I haven't seen firsthand that experience, but I've heard it from enough people. It's kind of like one of those you hear from enough people. You're like, there must be
true.
something.
Yeah.
There must be something to it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that,
Yeah.
but I agree with the breweries. I typically my wife, her family, when we kind of rotate Thanksgiving. Part of our family lives up in Dallas. The other here. We rotate year to year. Whenever we do it here, it's kind of become tradition that the girls, the day after Thanksgiving, will go do their shopping stuff, and then all our nephews and everybody who's over 21 and brother-in-laws, we get about 8 of us, and we just go hit breweries all day and just spend the day doing that. So it's pretty cool.
sounds pretty fun to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too. Like, so I've got my beef with the beer community a little bit, but what's interesting is in the beer community, people get a lot less hung up on like what you put into the beer. I mean, you can flavor the beer, you can finish the beer, you can
So that doesn't bother the beer groups. And when
No.
you say that, it makes me think of I wasn't traditionally an IPA fan, but now the way they're adding things into it, to your point, I'm going, okay, it's not, I
a
can
little more
I kinda
palatable
like-
too, that kind of stuff. And I mean, if you go to like Buffalo Bayou Brewing, they do a lot of really unique things. If you ever go to a place called Ingenious Brewing,
Well, I want to find that place. I heard about that one and don't know where it's at, but I want to go check it out.
very unique. They have like froyo beer and like all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's wild.
Is that Seth's place? Or is he?
I don't know who owns it, to be
Okay.
honest. I know I've been there a few times and I was pretty impressed.
Yeah.
That sounds like B52. I think that's on north. That's like Conroe area, so like real, pretty far up north of Houston. But they do all kinds of different, unique, beers, and I mean they're all pretty dang good. It's kind of one of those they've got milkshake this and
Really?
Yeah, like all kinds of different stuff. Sour this, sour that. I mean they just do a bunch of different things, and a lot of them stick pretty well. So
I'm trying to get more. I have gotten more into IPAs, and especially this summer. And thanks to Carson, who's kind of helped me out with that, and Jordan Hill. I'm traditionally, a porter, a stout, a brown ale. Those are kind of where I like to live with
that's
beer.
where I'm at too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm probably like weird, but I really enjoy like Belgian style beers, triples, quads, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I really like German style beers.
I like German a lot.
Trappist ales, those kind of Abbey ales are really, really cool. German, Crystal Weiss or something like that.
Now you're mentioning things I don't know anything about.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You sound like a beer guy.
Yeah. I mean, but those are, people don't even really, like these days, like particularly, at least from, the people that I've talked to, they think about these old style beers. They're like, they're boring, like we want to do something different, But
So here's a question for you with Yana here. Does Russia produce beer? Do they have some breweries? Do they? Do they do a pretty good job?
yeah, I like Baltica. I mean, Baltica has, I don't know how many they have. Is it 9 different
is the top one.
the styles of beer? And so it's like Baltica, like 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I haven't tried all of them, and so I don't know how like their numbering system goes. But I know that the 9 is their top beer, and each number is a different style.
Okay.
So
But you also should say that 9 is not necessarily the top beer, it's the top alcohol proof beer.
well, yeah, it's
Which
the
is
highest
okay.
alcohol. Yeah,
Okay.
content. Yeah, so.
So
I don't know a Russian beer. Do you?
no, not at all.
Are you a big beer guy other than Natterdays?
Like I like IPAs
Is
and
that
stuff.
classified as beer?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
No, I'm too involved in wine and spirits. Like I can't even go down that rabbit hole. So I really like Parrish. I love everything that they put out. And like people let me try different stuff. I'm just not. It doesn't get me as excited and like a wine or spirit. So.
Ghost in the Machine's quite good.
Oh man, that's one of my favorites.
And then
See, I've never had that.
Oh, it's so good.
Now you can get it here everywhere.
Yeah,
It used to not
yeah.
be like that. It used to be that everyone would, kind of bring it back from Louisiana before they started distributing out this way.
Another one, if you like that beer, try the Spindle Tap Houston Haze.
Mm-hmm.
That's
really
also
good.
a nice hazy IPA if you're into that.
So what do you ever drink beer with dinners, and then is there like science behind that pairing, or at least preference for you?
I personally speaking, I've gone to beer dinners before where they do pairings with food. I don't think I've ever done it at the house before, like just cooking my own meals.
I have a question for you. I think of one food where I think, oh man, you could go either
I'm waiting to hear what you say.
beer or pizza.
There we go.
Or do you do wine and pizza?
Oh, dude, we do something really strange.
We don't drink water.
Yeah, so we do champagne and pizza.
Do you really?
Really?
I mean, to me, bubbles goes with everything, so
That's
I don't think
awesome.
that's a bad
Yeah,
choice. But
like it's kind of like it's a funny thing.
Good bottle of champagne, but like Domino's
With your
pizza
Domino's
or
pizza.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we had a better option, we would definitely eat it. But,
That's cool.
That's kind of like our.
like Vav and
But you
Domino's.
guys make some good pizzas at home. I've seen some of your
Oh
pizzas.
yeah, we made pizza. Yeah, and sometimes you just feel lazy, and you just order out, or whatever. But we kind of have this thing. If either one of us has like a bad day, we're like, all right, it's a champagne and pizza night.
That's amazing.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That
does.
should be one of
I
our
mean,
dinner themes.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I think so. I think that's a good idea.
I'm
I know you're
we're game.
pizza and wine guy.
No, I'm a beer.
Are you really?
Two things. So beer and pizza, and beer and chicken wings.
Hey, Rob, I'll make the pizza.
You'll make pizza?
No.
It's more like a
It's more
calzone.
like a calzone, a burned calzone.
So I would have thought the answer would have been yes, completely wine and pizza.
No,
every time.
I mean, yeah, there's really good wines for pizza, but to me, like nothing hits like beer and pizza and beer and chicken wings. I
I was
like,
thinking that. Yeah,
oh
yes,
man,
wings.
those
chicken
two.
wings, I think definitely.
Oh man,
Beer.
beer and pizza just hits. Especially like a nice, cool Miller Lite
I
out
mean-
the back of the fridge.
Beer and wings. I like wine with pizza. I'm a big. I do like that, but with wings, I agree. With crawfish, it's got to be beer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not normally
Any kind
like
of
a
oil.
just standard light beer kind of guy, but when I'm having wings or crawfish, I think it's just a perfect pairing.
Oh, it is.
Or Natter Day, but that pairs well with everything.
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 Natter Day and crawfish, man. That needs to be our new American flag.
Instead of stars, we had flamingos.
That's right.
But to be fair, so I feel like everyone thinks it's a joke, but I mean, can you relay your feelings on Natter Day? Because I've had them and I think they're great.
They are.
And
Is
people-
there
people
a
think it's
flavor to
joke.
them? Is it like a strawberry,
strawberry
berry?
lemonade.
Okay.
Strawberry lemonade, but it's not sweet.
No, yeah.
It's not like you're drinking. It's like, oh, this is just sugar. It's just and it's when you tell it's natural light with strawberry lemonade, but it doesn't taste like shitty natural light. It tastes like a really good strawberry lemonade
Yes.
beer.
It's like 3.2 alcohol.
It's probably around there.
That's something.
3.2,
It-
3.
It's not a lot.
It's one of those things where I've talked to people and I'm like, you gotta get on the Natter Days, and they're like, no, oh, you're joking with me. I'm like, no, I'm seriously not. They're
refreshing.
They're very
4.2.
refreshing.
The
We got the fact checker over here.
The first time I had it, so we were at the lake last year on vacation, and I bought a 12-pack. All right, let me see what these are about. So next morning, we were getting stuff ready. I was like, "Hey, where'd the Natter Days go?" Megan's like, "You drank them all," and like, I mean, literally, they go down so fast, and they're just refreshing. Now, like in the winter, probably wouldn't be as exciting, but when it's hot outside, there's nothing better.
You know what's next level? Natterita. You take your Natter Day and put it in your tequila and make basically a margarita.
You've done this?
Absolutely.
Over
It's-
ice?
Yes.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Or sometimes just straight in the can, depending
Yeah.
how
It
it's
is.
going.
It is. It is.
You down for that, or you like don't
Always.
don't mess
Always.
with my
It's-
Natter Day?
it's
No,
actually-
always.
It's very good.
That's what America was founded
like,
on.
It's like getting it's like if you found a strawberry margarita somewhere. I mean, honestly. Or get one of the, what do they call them, the ones where they stick the beer
Peg
upside
legs.
down in it,
Yeah.
peg leg or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
In the margarita?
Yeah, they stick it upside down in the
Oh, yeah.
margarita.
Yeah, I've
It's
seen
just like
that. The big old one. And,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like
Yeah.
a strawberry version of that. I mean, it's fantastic.
Well, okay, so to kind of circle back to the beer nerd thing, I mean, St. Arnold's makes a beer called Boiler Room. It's it's called a Berliner Weiss style.
Oh, it is.
Okay, and it's very common to take syrup like a raspberry syrup or something and put into the Berliner Weiss beer, and that's a very popular summertime
So-
beer thing in Germany.
A Berliner Weiss is almost like a sour.
It's a
type,
sour,
right? It's a sour
like-
style beer.
Yes,
right?
it is. Yeah.
So the only one I've had that's a Berliner is from Paris, the Grand Ale.
Yeah.
How does it compare to that? Is
So
it similar?
In a way, in the
Okay.
style, yeah, but like the St. Arnold's Boiler Room is very low alcohol. I think it's like
Okay.
between like 2 and 3% alcohol. So you can just go to town on them if you want to.
Gotcha.
But they're fantastic. I really enjoy it. You know, I drink them by themselves without any like
Add anything to it.
raspberry
Yeah.
stuff to it or whatever. But it is done.
What does a 12-pack of Natter Days run?
$12.
Is it really?
It's like right around there, yeah.
It's
Does
yeah.
Natural Light know that you're kind of a brand ambassador for them?
So I'm actually I'm gonna email them soon
yeah, you should.
with all my Natter Day swag.
Yeah,
Try to be their official spokesperson.
including a mask now that you have.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I need to wear my whole outfit and see if I can. I missed out on the koozies the other day. Those sold out, but
Was that the Natter Day shirt that you had on Friday? That's what I thought it was.
that's probably what it was.
What?
That's why lost track of time. My Natterday shirt
Natterday
done
shirt.
took over.
Yeah.
Sure. It's like a time travel machine.
That's right. It wasn't the 17 whiskeys, you know. It was the Natterday.
I do agree with you, though, getting together with the dinners and things, trying to learn about wine or learn about whiskeys and things. It's nice to visit with people, but I do learn so much getting together with you guys when you bring different stuff, and that's another cool reason to get together.
It's so multifaceted because you learn, you know, you're a wine guy and you learn, let's say, more about whiskey. Not saying, you know, you learn more about whiskey, you learn more about other spirits, you learn more about beer, and then you learn more about other cultured food, right?
Yeah.
Like other cultures that, you know, we make Greek food, you know, the Carters are making Russian food, and, you know, then other things in between. And it's just, wow, that's a really unique idea that, you know, we can take and, I don't know, I can morph it into my own dish. And that's what's awesome, right? Because I would love if I see something or you see something that I make, and you're like, I can take this and I can do something else with it and turn it into a different dish altogether.
Totally agree.
You know, it's very cool to share ideas. And
I just think our group is like, the bar has been set pretty high. I'm waiting for somebody to go, hey, man, I'm doing cheeseburgers.
I think that's what we
y'all have been around.
I wouldn't be opposed either, but it's like everybody's like stepping it up. I'm like, holy cow.
That's what we talked about with the.
That's so much fun.
It is. No, it is. Like, yeah. No, we need to. We do probably need. But I think that's what we talked about. The Scots is like.
They're doing hot dogs, right?
Yeah. Well, they were like Natterdays and hanging out at the pool. Like, I'd be down for like cheeseburgers. Now it's got to be, you know, Kobe beef cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Like, don't skimp out here.
Got to have a good bun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Brioche or
Yeah.
challah bread. Or,
Yeah. Those are my favorite.
yeah, from HEB, they're
Yeah.
really
We're
good
just
buns.
spitballing here. We're just,
That's gonna be incorporated into my chopped Thursday.
Is it?
Challah bread.
don't
Nice.
give anything away, man.
Maybe
I'm not,
some
that's
candied
it.
bacon on top. I don't know.
I'm gonna win. By the way, I'm gonna win.
So are you're cooking at your house? Coming over to eat
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If y'all want to come on.
When is it?
Thursday.
This Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And you live close by.
Yeah. If y'all want to come.
Town.
Oh, where are you all
Oh,
going?
you're going to Colorado.
Yeah, we're going to
You're
Denver.
gonna get us some.
Sorry.
You're gonna get us some awesome
Brownies.
spirit.
Brownies.
Yeah. It's a Colorado
fun.
specialty.
Let's do a weed night. You bring back some gummies.
No, I'm talking about Tingala.
Oh.
The spirit liqueur.
We'll do that,
It's
we'll do that
so
for pizza and
good.
champagne night.
Yeah. One of these pizzas is spiked.
One of these pizzas you're not gonna taste anything after.
So I was watching the show with my wife one night. It was a reality show. And the group went to Colorado on a trip, and they hired a private chef that specialized in cooking a meal, like a 5-course meal, all of it infused with.
I feel like either I've seen that or I heard someone or I saw a
Yeah.
clip of that online or something.
Yeah,
Huh?
I was like,
Showing it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
that's pretty. It was interesting. That's the night only gets better. I'm assuming.
I like this podcast. We started out kind of like, you know, formal, and now we're like, yeah, let's talk about cooking with weed.
So how about that smoke wagon though? Because I tried.
I like it a lot.
Here. All right.
It's gonna
Yeah.
reach over.
Seriously, you just need to name this the Dollar General Podcast. It's just a bunch of nonsense.
That's what I want it to
good.
be. Is just conversation, man.
This is really good. I enjoy it.
Talking about the podcast, right?
All of it.
Yes. Of
Yeah,
course.
that too. Got the smoke wagon.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the conversation, guys. I just wanted to come out and do a fun show, just maybe cover a bunch of different things, and I think we accomplished that.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Had no idea, I knew food, wine, and whiskey, and I kind of said, let's just kind of touch just on all those things, wherever you guys think we're, whatever. And had no idea beer would come into it, but we had the beer guy here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I thought it was great, man, because I'm into beer too, so
I tried
absolutely.
some of your beer. It was pretty good.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Now I want to. No,
Yeah, we got one in the fridge. We can crack it
Oh,
open.
nice. Okay,
So,
cool. Well, guys, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having us.
All right, thanks, Rob.
Yeah,
Appreciate
appreciate it, man.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. And until our next episode, enjoy your next pour.